In this video, I'm going to cover short-run production costs. What's the definition of short run? We're going to be looking at both the short run and the long run. Short run is not a specific amount of time. We define short run as a period in which at least one resource is fixed. So in other words, your plant capacity or your size is not changeable. In the long run, all resources are variable, and so there would be no fixed resources in the long run. Your plant capacity and your size would be changeable. And today we're going to look at short run costs. And here's a list of all of the costs we're going to look at and their abbreviations. Fixed costs don't change, so things like rent, insurance, salaries. Average fixed costs are fixed costs over quantity. Variable costs do change, and the equation for variable costs to calculate average variable costs is variable costs over the quantity. And variable costs would include things like raw materials, your labor, and electricity. So total cost is the sum of fixed and variable costs. And marginal cost refers to the additional cost of an additional output. So it's the change in total cost over the change in quantity. So if the production of 2 more units increases your cost from 100 to 120, the marginal cost would be $10. Pause the video and study this chart, and then see if you can answer 1 through 7. Notice that average variable cost plus fixed cost equals your average total cost. And see if you did the calculations correctly. Marginal costs, average total costs, and average variable costs are going to be really important to diagram. Average fixed costs will show here, but that for our purposes is not going to be as important to show on diagrams. But this is what these curves, cost curves, look like on a graph. The difference between average total cost and average variable cost is your fixed costs. Notice that average total and average variable costs will get closer, but they're never going to touch. And here's a practice question, and the answer is A. Another practice problem, and the answer is C. And more practice, and the answers. At output Q, what area represents total costs, variable costs, and fixed costs? Total costs would be represented as 0 to C over to D in Q. Your variable costs would be represented by 0 to B, E, and Q. And then your fixed costs would be 0 to A to F to Q, or B, C, D, and E, the difference between average total and average variable. And here's some more practice. So fixed costs don't change. So if the fixed cost of producing 0 is 100, the fixed cost of producing more units are 100. Add fixed and variable to get total. And then you're looking at the change, marginal cost. How much is it going, what's the incremental cost going to be to produce that next unit? Then average variable, average fixed, and average total. Okay, pause the video and see if you can calculate A, B, C, D, and E. And here are the answers. Okay, a practice question, and the answer is A. Let's look at why the marginal cost curve always goes down and then up again. Study this relationship between marginal product and marginal cost. They're mirror images of each other. The marginal cost curve falls and then rises because of diminishing marginal return. So I want you to pause the video and look at this example, and then I will fill it in for you. And here are the answers. The additional cost of the first 13 units produced falls because workers have increasing marginal returns. But as production continues, each worker is adding less and less to production, so the marginal cost for each additional unit produced is going to increase. Why does average total cost go down and then go back up? Notice that when the marginal cost curve is below the average, it's pulling the average down. But when the marginal cost curve is above the average, it's pulling the average up. The marginal cost and the average total cost curves intersect at the average total cost lowest point. Here's a practice question. And the answer is C. Other practice question, and the answer is B. And some more.